I'm going to tell you a couple things. We just talk about something that happened in common current events, I guess, would you say? And then we kind of comment on it like two guys, like not some brain surgeons, and definitely we're a little smarter than the average guy, but not much.
Way smarter.
Yeah, okay. So listen, so here's what we got today to talk about a little bit. The NFL and Visa will host a cashless Super Bowl in Tampa Bay. What do you have to say about that? I mean, that's pretty much, it's going to be cashless, which means we don't bring any dollars or cents, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so what are we talking about when it comes to how does that impact us? I mean, to me, I say, great, we don't have to worry about carrying anything around.
Well, first of all, it's against the law. I know you don't have any money, and I certainly don't have any money on me. But if you saw a dollar bill, it has for all debts, public and private,
Right.
which means that it has to be accepted everywhere. So plain and simple, what they're doing is against the law, but there's a little bit more of a, what would you call, a conspiracy to that.
Okay. And what is it? What do you mean when you say a conspiracy?
Well, basically what they're trying to do is they're trying to push people towards a digital currency rather than the system that we have right now.
Well, that is far different than what they're doing at the Super Bowl, correct?
Yes.
All right, so this is a step. And again, for those of you who are self-employed, you all know cash is king. I mean, we don't have to tell you why cash is king. I mean, you can just, we'll leave that unsaid. But for the most part, we're going paperless, which means, first of all, even if we go paperless at the Super Bowl, your wife, your girlfriend, and your mistress will all be able to track exactly what you spent if they have access to your account, correct?
Correct. But it's actually worse than that. What they're trying to do, through my eyes anyway, is they're getting you used to it. They're preparing you. It's kind of like what they did with the COVID with the masks. They started out, you don't really need them. Then they were, oh, okay, we can do a little better with the disease if we wear a mask. And now, if you go somewhere without a mask, you will be tackled and beaten the shit out of
Well,
you.
it started out you didn't need a mask.
No, you didn't.
And you only needed, what, 2 weeks?
No, that's it. But the whole point
bend the
is,
curve.
what my whole point is this. It's a conditioning program. That's all it is. It's a conditioning program. You'll learn to go to an event, such as the Super Bowl, and don't take any money because money is going to become outlawed.
Well, okay, so let us assume that happens and we now can no longer accept cash, but our cash is replaced with something called digital currency. And for those of you who understand or don't understand what digital currency is, it's just like having cash, except you don't have access to it via actual physical, physical.
Right. It's going to be, quite simply, it's going to be sold as money's unnecessary, money's dirty, might have a disease on it, might have a virus on it. Everything is going to, it's almost like when you're steering a bunch of sheep into a pen. That's exactly what they're doing. It is nothing short of lining up the sheep with the dog and pushing them into a pen. And that's what's happening. You're going to be pushed into a pen.
All right, so you're pushed into this paperless digital currency.
Correct.
And some of us would say, well, I don't even use cash now. All I do is use my Visa and MasterCard. What do you have to say to those people?
No, they're absolutely right. You're talking about apples and oranges. Because you have a debit card, you're free to go to JP Morgan, you're free to go to Bank of America. After they're done herding you into this pen, you will have what's called a Fed account.
Fed account. Oh, can they look that up if they want to?
You can look that up. Fed account. And basically what a Fed account does is you surrender your soul to the federal government. They'll have every single piece of information about you. They'll have control of your money totally. If you think that you want to spend something on, say, just to use an example, you want to buy a gun. Well, the federal government may say, you know what? You can't spend your money on a gun. And you'll say, well, yes, I can. And they'll say, no, I don't think so. We have your money. And if you piss us off and try something like that, we'll delete some money out of your account with a push of a button.
You know, I'm looking here at an article on Market Watch for those of you, and it's an opinion article, but let's talk a little bit about it. It says Fed accounts for all with automatic and recurring payments triggered by economic crisis. I mean, that's the headline. And that was back in, by the way, that was back in July 25th. These people were a little bit of predictors of what was going on. This is an article. The next coronavirus relief package must fix the flaws of the first, and here's how, free bank accounts for all Americans that the Federal Reserve fit into that solution. So this is like herding pigs in a pen, right?
It
They put out
certainly
the
is.
food,
It certainly
you
is.
get free bank accounts.
Here's the real problem, and you have to ask yourself this: when is the last time the government did something for your benefit? Are you going to talk about the what do you call that? What was that? The
Stimulus?
the Veterans Administration.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
a perfect example. Oh, the government took it over. We're going to help our veterans, and they're dying like flies. So, I mean, listen, when this thing gets instituted, George Orwell will be gone. I was a little early, but I told you, didn't I?
Right. And again, so this is one of the reasons, or one of the ways they could control wealth. They
Not
can
one of the
control-
reasons. Not one of the reasons.
The only?
The only way they can control it. This is it. This is the pièce de résistance. This is the end game. Sorry,
So,
Grant.
Will there be an underground currency? Will there be something?
Oh, absolutely. Listen, anytime the government comes up with something,
I know.
there is definitely some unintended consequences. That goes without saying.
Interesting. Now, what about Bitcoin? How does that play into all this? Because that technically is also digital currency, is it not?
The government's not too happy about Bitcoin, but they really, really don't know what to do with it right now. Bitcoin is
Throw it in their side, monkey in the wrench.
not really. It's just something outside of the norm. And anytime that happens, that there's something of value that they can't get their hands on, how do you think they feel?
Pretty good. You're right.
Yeah, pretty good. All right.
Well, listen, I'm looking at this article here. It says, I'm just going to cut another excerpt out of this Market Watch article dated July 25th. Finally, Congress should pass a structural reform where states and cities receive recurring counter-cyclical aid when there's an economic crisis. State and local governments here or have watched revenues plummet because of the coronavirus, and there are additional risks at the horizon. So I can definitely, I mean, we all have to look at a place like New York, and we see what's going on in New York, right? And the impact that this coronavirus, and again, I love the third wheel guy. The coronavirus's fault. It's never government's fault, right? Coronavirus caused them to lose all this money. So that is one of the ways I believe that they'll be able to recoup some of their cash, right?
Well, let's first get back to one premise that I think is pretty funny. When you talk about money today, it's pretty much pixie dust.
Yeah.
They push a button and they give out more money. They can give it out to states. They can give it out to the unemployed. They can give it out to, oh, God forbid, the stock market. And so don't ever get fooled and think that money is money. It's pixie dust.
Well, no, I have to agree with you, and I'll tell you why. Because you had told me this earlier off camera. If we actually had to print the national debt of what 27 trillion.
Well, unfunded liabilities are about. I think they're about 300 trillion right now. Unfunded liabilities.
So unfunded liabilities, what would happen to the trees? You said
no,
something?
there's nothing. There just wouldn't be any trees on the planet.
So-
We would have to import trees to print money.
That's amazing. So this is Tony Robb and Bill Clark. We'll be right back after these messages.